Here's a little vocal recording tip for you today. I'm recording vocals for this song, and I realized this is the perfect one to talk about S's when you're recording in the studio. Now, most of us, when we vocal train, especially if we're focusing on classical or musical theater, there's a huge emphasis on diction for live performance. Now, diction for live performance is just slightly different than what you want to do in the studio because this microphone is super, super sensitive. And also S's can get with the way we process modern vocals, so when you record vocals, you got to be really, really sensitive to how you would sing your S's. So this chorus has tons of S in it. And so I thought, oh, this is perfect. I'm going to use this chorus. So let me just sing a little bit for you. And if I were singing live, this is how I would sing it. Your peace washing over me, your mercy compensating, your love even when I'm weak. Every self-doubt scatters when I remember you're all that matters, Jesus. You're all that matters. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful song written by Suzanne Hodson, and she had a co-writer on this, but I don't remember that person's name, so I'm very sorry about that. Suzanne, maybe you can tag your co-writer. But anyway, lots of S's sounds on this, and so instead of what we learn to do in our classical training is actually pushing those S's out, like your peace washing, washing. You might put just even a little extra emphasis behind that sh. And we're not going to do that in the studio, and yet we still want to get the same energy that we get from accentuated diction. So this is how I would sing it in front of this microphone. And bear in mind, some microphones are more sensitive to those higher frequencies. This one is pretty mellow, but I have a Neumann TLM 103 that really enhances those higher frequencies, and I recorded lead vocals with that for years and always had to struggle with S's. So this one's a little bit better, and I have the Shure SM7B, which is even better. Okay, so this is how I would sing this. Your peace washing over me, your mercy compensating. I also did it on the compensating instead of live performance, especially musical theater, where you might go compensating, like even pushing air out on that P. But I went I really closed my lips and made sure the air was almost staying inside my mouth, very little coming out. And that's because, we have this pop filter to protect our microphone from the push of air that comes from P's and B's. But, they can still get through if it's pretty heavy. But on the the first one, your peace, there's just barely a touch of a S, and yet that's going to be plenty to get the idea through. You got to really be careful when you're recording vocals, because the diction has to be there, but it has to be gentle at the same time. So in one regard, it needs to be a little bit larger than life. Like, you can't mumble or no one's going to understand what you're saying unless you're doing mumble rap or mumble pop, which seems to be a thing these days. So you got to be really careful to make sure that the diction is clear, that we can really understand your words, but that you're not blowing out the microphone or hurting your listeners' ears with all those crazy S's. So one more time. Your peace washing over me, your mercy compensating. It's pulling back on those P's and the S's, and without losing any of the energy. It really is something that you have to consciously do until it becomes a habit. Just like learning how to accentuate certain consonants in your voice lessons, you have to do the same thing with studio recording, and eventually it becomes where it's a habit and you don't have to think about it. Okay, that's it for today.